President Bola Ahmed Tinubu has declared that there has been no corruption in Nigeria since he assumed office. President Tinubu made this remark during a high-profile meeting with the Brazilian business community in Brazil. It is getting clearer to the that we affirmed Nigeria's readiness to deepen partnerships in sectors like technology transfer, food security, and manufacturing and renewable energy. The president described Nigeria's economic landscape as a vast, untapped market full of opportunities for Brazilian companies, asserting that the initially painful reforms are now blossoming with positive outcomes.
The reform that I've embarked upon since I took over in Nigeria has been very impactful. I can beat my chest for that. It was initially painful, but today the result is blossoming. It's getting clearer to the people. We have more money to the economy, no more corruption. We have the governor of Central Bank here. You don't have to know him before you get the foreign exchange that you need. The speculators are out in our currency market. The door is open for businesses. Easy in, easy out.
President Tinubu's message was part of a broader diplomatic effort to attract foreign investment while projecting a narrative of increased transparency and accountability in Nigeria's governance. This statement aligns with the administration's anti-corruption measures, including the launch of National Central Database of Recovered Assets and intensified efforts by the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, EFCC, to recover stolen public funds. According to official reports, billions of naira and foreign currencies were recovered in 2024 and redirected towards key infrastructure projects. However, the claim has faced backlash from opposition voices and civil society organizations who continue to highlight persistent corruption, challenges, and question the depth of reforms under Tinubu's administration. President Tinubu's remarks came at a time when Nigeria's governance and economic management are under heavy scrutiny, both domestically and internationally. Corruption has historically been one of the major impediments to Nigeria's development, making the success of anti-corruption campaigns a critical gauge of government credibility. While measurable progress has been noted in asset recovery, transparency, and institutional reforms, ongoing political scandals and rising public debt raise questions about sincerity and the sustainability of the declared corruption-free status. Critics argue that the political ecosystem remains fraught with patronage and misuse of resources. The declaration also forms part of a strategic economic diplomacy aimed at inviting foreign investors by showcasing political stability and economic reform. Success in this arena depends heavily on the follow-through in policy implementation and enforcement integrity. All right, let's talk about this. Mr. Due Process, I don't know if you are still there with us. Oh, he's not here. But this statement seems to have caused much, emotions in Nigeria, and there is no corruption going on in the country. Yes, we have been, watching the EFCC recovering billions of naira from politicians and the rest of them. But can you really justify the statement made by President Bola Tinubu that there is no corruption in Nigeria since he assumed office? Mr. Ibrahim.
Actually, to declare corruption ended in Nigeria is actually laughable. I believe Nigeria is far from corruption, end of corruption, because corruption is not just in one part of the country. It's completely the part of the system, and it cannot be uprooted by just a single swing. So considering that, if President Tinubu wants to back what he's saying, because this is clearly a very huge claim that Nigeria is now a corruption-free country, while we're seeing people close to him allegedly having corruption charges. Even he himself has corruption charges on him. So I don't understand. While every administration must show commitment to fighting corruption, premature declaration like this sound like propaganda, and we should not allow them to be going around marketing this false claim, because clearly Nigeria and corruption, it is just like in our fabric. It is built within the system. How can you uproot a system completely? So fighting corruption has to do with, should I say, a deliberate and constructive attempt to eliminate it from the people first, then from the institution. Because every facet of Nigerian society is today corrupt, sadly. Look at the people, look at the military, look at the academia, look at the public office holders, look at every other sector. You find out that Nigeria, the level of corruption in the country cannot just be uprooted just by a single swing. And for the president to come out and tell foreign diplomats that Nigeria is a corruption-free country, I think has a touch of propaganda. And
but I believe that statement, he was not saying that Nigeria is corruption free. Now let me get you back of what a statement that the former president, late President Muhammadu Buhari said. You know, when we're still fighting, of course we're still currently fighting, but then insecurity was at its peak. Mr. Buhari said that he had defeated Boko Haram. He made that statement publicly. You know, people misinterpreted it, but it did not mean that insecurity was no longer in existence in Nigeria. But you know, maybe operationally or technically, Boko Haram had been defeated. So I think when politicians or political leaders make statements like this, we should not always interpret them literally, but we should look further to know that they might be saying that the country has progressed in the anti-corruption fight. In the past 1 year or so, we have seen the successes of EFCC, even though they have not, done much as expected, but they are in progress. They have been working to ensure that billions of naira stolen by, leaders and institutions, public institutions, have been recovered. So don't you think that statement should be interpreted figuratively and not in the literal sense that there is no corruption in Nigeria?
I don't believe that we should translate it figuratively, because I'm not good in English, but I understand that there is a difference between progress and ended. Once you say something is in progress, then you clearly mean you are on the path of solving that problem. But once you said something has ended, clearly you mean it has ended. And if we're going to just turn back the lens a bit and focus on the administration, this administration alone, and looking at the people holding key positions within the administration, then saying that corruption has ended figuratively, metaphorically, or literally, it carries no water, because clearly they are highly corrupt. It is a statement from the current security advisor when he was EFCC chairman, that the three most corrupt governors in Nigeria at his time was Governor Bola Ahmed Tinubu of Lagos State, Governor Godwill Akpabio of Akwa Ibom State, and Governor, what's the name of that current SGF, Secretary to the Government of the Federation, the former Governor of Benue State, George Akumi. So these were the three people he mentioned. And ironically, today he is the security advisor to the president. One of the people he alleged as the most corrupt person is currently the president of the country. The two others are the third citizen and the secretary of the government. So coming out to tell us Nigerians, I think is more or less like an insult to an average Nigerian, that this government will come out and have the audacity to tell us that this country is corruption free. Going by the fact that even if they are recovering food, where is the phone going? I don't think the money they are recovering is going to the even to the scope of the government. When they recover the money, some people siphon the money. So is that not corruption? If they are not siphoning the money, then they should come and explain where are they putting the money they have been recovering. And we have a lot of problems. And if we can see that the level of debt has increased rather than decreased while they have been recovering the phone and they said corruption has ended, then we have every reason to wonder where is the money that they have been recovering going to? Through which indices are we going to measure that Nigerian corruption has ended? That's the question, clearly. It is not about being figuratively or metaphorically or literally the literal translation of what he means. It is something that is as clear as day that Nigeria is corrupt. And there's nothing like, even the comparison you gave that Buhari said we defeated Boko Haram. I think saying we defeated Boko Haram and insecurity has ended are two different things. If you said, for example, we defeated corruption within our administration, is different from saying we defeated corruption or corruption has ended in Nigeria. They are two different things. So Buhari never claimed that. Yeah, Buhari never claimed that. Yeah, Buhari never claimed that they defeat
Boko Haram
in Nigeria. He just claimed we defeat insecurity, and you understand that there are different insecurities in Nigeria. Every zone in Nigeria have their own different version of insecurity. For example, in the southeast is unknown gunmen, right? When you go to the north central, it is Haida farmer clash. When you go to the northeast, is Boko Haram. When you go to the northwest, is banditry and kidnapping. When you go to the south, it's Niger Delta militants. When you go to the southwest, every zone have their different version of insecurity in Nigeria. So Buhari saying we defeated Boko Haram, mean he defeated Boko Haram, not insecurity in the country.
All right, thank you for that commentary. Mr. Due Process, you're welcome back. Now, we have been talking about President Tinubu's statements that corruption has been nipped in the bud, defeated. There is no case of corruption since he assumed office because he has dealt with it decisively. Now, how would you take that statement?
That statement is falsehood, is propaganda that is often being driven by this administration. If you look at the circle of those around the power, they are all corrupt. They've had history of fraud associated with all the major stakeholders in this administration. As a matter of fact, Tinubu himself that made that statement is corrupt. He was under investigation by the same no regard today that is the boss of the NIA, while he was then the EFCC boss. Tinubu was part of those under investigation for alleged fraud. Tinubu, a confirmed drug lord that forfeited $460,000 to the US government in Chicago in attempt to escape imprisonment. So there is no gainsaying that they are only fooling around. And if you observe, they are becoming known for what they stand for who they are. They left, Japan the other day, claiming that they have had agreement with Japan for Nigerian citizenship to gain direct entry. At the end of the day, Japan came out to debunk the news that they never deliberated anything of such. Today now he has gone to Brazil making humongous claim that he has defeated, that he has ended corruption in Nigeria. Tell me, the same person that is standing there to talk that he has ended corruption has formalized corruption in Nigeria. He has formalized it. Before now it was stealing, but now why will you need to steal when what you have to steal have been made official? So what we have currently ongoing in Nigeria is official corruption. Official in the sense that it has been budgeted, it has been covered, the provision has been made by virtue of the budget system that they already have in place. For instance, look at the humongous amount that was budgeted for street lights, where per street light cost 26.25 million naira per street light, to a tune of 1,440 street lights budgeted in the national budget. So just last week, Mr. Peter made revelation of how 450 billion naira were budgeted for bus stop, whereas the same country budgeted just less than 100 billion naira for the entire health sectors, including psychiatric centers. So tell me, do you need to steal and be caught as a corrupt official when you already have a budgetary provision for your stealing? When was the last time Tinubu made presentation of Nigerian earning? At least he's in charge of the NNPC as the minister himself. When was the last time he presented the exact production of crude from the Nigerian soil and the amount accrued before even going into subsidy or no subsidy? Has he ever addressed Nigerians in terms of transparency? Look at the tax regime. Look at the import duty. When was the last time he has addressed Nigerians to explain to Nigerians the amount of tax revenues, right, that he has made for the country? There is no any transparency. Rather, what they have is to gather every month in Abuja and share whatever is presented among the 3 tiers of government. And everybody goes home happy. Whereas the system is dying. So, if they claim to have defeated corruption, where is Yahya Bello today? Yahya Bello was seen in a recent video instructing a supposed lawmakers for Kogi State, instructing them on how to cooperate in criminality, instructed them on how to not even raise a question or ask any question, but whatever they are given, even when they don't understand it, they should just endorse it, they should just sign on it. Yahya Bello is supposed to be behind bars. But Yahya Bello is in government house in Kogi State, keep passing instruction on how the state assembly should verbatim approve whatever is presented to them without asking a single question. This is the kind of country we are. If we talk, some people are there on the social space, they are paid 20,000, 50,000 just to come online and abuse the hell out of whoever is raising fundamental objection. So this is where we are. They can lay claim of whatsoever. Remember, David Hundeyin, he rose an alarm that Tinubu has the backing of the Western world, the IMF, the United States governments, to go ahead and increase tax to 10%. And for him to actually implement this, the social space that have always been countering their narrative, they went ahead and sponsored a number of young Nigerians to Ghana to go and compare the cost of living in Ghana, the price of fuel in Ghana, and compare to the Nigerian situation. And they are now posting rubbish in the public space that life is miserable in Ghana, how do people in Ghana survive, that the price of fuel costs over 2,000 naira in Ghana, whereas in Nigeria is 1,000 naira and below. That Nigerians have no reason to complain. Are you seeing the level of rot these people are presenting as propaganda before the Nigerian people? The same people forgot to equally outline the exchange rates between naira and cedis. Cedis cost one cedis equal 134 naira. They are not going into this comparison, but I just explained to us in verbatim that cost of living is high in Ghana. These are just the roadmap to the increase in tax that is coming. They are not increasing the tax from 7% to 10% because tax is all that this present Tinubu government understand. He did it in Lagos. He implemented a tax regime. That is his only achievement in Lagos, and he's not bringing it to Nigeria. The entirety of the country is taxing and taxing, and Mr. Tinubu made it very clear that you cannot tax an unemployed population. People are idle, they lack where to work, and all you do is to bring upon them tax regime that is highly unfavorable. Create job and the people will happily pay tax. The UK government survives on tax, but they created the job first. That is what we should be discussing about. For people claiming that he has defeated corruption, he's just a mess of himself. He's making a fool of himself in the global stage because the people he's speaking to have foreknowledge of all he's trying to fool them around. So he's not fooling himself. So I don't rate any information that is coming from this Tinubu APC administration. I don't rate it for any reason. Because I believe it's a government that came on board through propaganda. So they use propaganda to sustain their influence to the good. Thank you.
Well, that is a good one. I don't know how an average Nigerian will take that statement coming from the president in Brazil. They're all the same. We shall see what happens. All right, thank you very much, Mr. Due Process. That is the much we can take for today's DDM Morning Show. To hit the like button, make your comment, subscribe to our YouTube channel. I am Tochukwu Raphael, joined by Ibrahim Umawase. See you tomorrow.